We're already in week 4 of high school football this week. Battle of the Catholics. Welcome back to BG Game Preview. I'm your host, Lucy Eisenbarth. And it's week 4 of high school football 8-man. This week we're going to be covering the St. Ed's versus Bishop Garrigan game, or what I like to call Battle of the Catholic Schools. Before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, and go follow the Instagram for BG Game Preview to stay updated on all uploads and some potential short form content coming soon. Start off this video, we're going to do a little recap rewind to homecoming week for the Bishop Garrigan Golden Bears and their matchup and blowout win versus North Iowa. This year, homecoming week was a success for Bishop Garrigan with their huge blowout win versus North Iowa 72-6. Score at halftime was 52-0. It was a shutout the entire game except for the final quarter, where North Iowa got their one rushing touchdown of the game, but was not able to complete the 2-point conversion. North Iowa's offense really struggled this week, with quarterback Talon Jacobson throwing for 37 yards, completing 6 of his 15 passes for no touchdowns and 1 interception. The leading rusher for the Buffaloes was Kil Lorenzen Jr. with 39 yards and 0 touchdowns. I'm not sure who did get their one rushing touchdown, like I had mentioned earlier. The entirety of the team rushed 30 times for 73 yards and the 1 touchdown. Leading receiver caught 2 catches for 16 yards, and that was Andrew Hoffman. A lot of players on this Buffalo offense are juniors this year, so you can expect to see them back next year when they play Garrigan again. Moving over to Garrigan's stat line side of things, quarterback Tate First completed 8 of his 9 passes for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. The team overall had 9 completed passes of their 11 for 105 yards and the 3 touchdowns thrown by Tate First. Moving over to rushing, Ethan Marceau on 7 attempts had 109 yards and 3 touchdowns. The entire team rushed for 7 touchdowns and 290 yards off of 27 attempts. Leading receiver in this game was Michael Joyce with 3 catches for 37 yards and 0 touchdowns, but he did have 13 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. North Iowa's defense did struggle a lot in this game, hence letting up 70 points. They did not get to Tate Firch, and through the Garrigan offensive line, they didn't have any TFLs or tackles for loss, and 0 interceptions. That really was a huge factor for what all went wrong for North Iowa in this game, was letting the Garrigan offense get out there and make huge plays and get comfortable right away on their home field. Garrigan's defense, however, did shut out North Iowa until the 4th quarter. This shows in the stat lines as well, with the team getting 5 sacks, 8 TFLs, 1 forced fumble, which they did recover, and 1 interception on the night. Overall, a dominant win for Garrigan on their home field during homecoming week, and that will move them to 3-0 on the year, and North Iowa will start 0-3. Now, we're going to do Recap Rewind Part 2 to cover Garrigan versus St. Ed last year and see what we can expect out of these teams this Friday in Fort Dodge. Garrigan's home opener last year was versus St. Ed's, which is when the last time these two teams squared off. Garrigan ended up coming out with the win 48-22 in this game. St. Ed's quarterback Ethan Swisher threw for 137 yards and 1 touchdown, completing 5 of his 21 passes. Comparing that to, at the time, junior Tate Firch, completing 8 of his 14 passes for 130 yards and 1 touchdown. Moving on to receiving, their senior running back, Clay Baker, rushed 12 times for 60 yards and 0 touchdowns. And comparing that over to Garrigan's side, we had, at the time, junior Ethan Marceau attempt 13 rushes for 69 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Leading receiver for St. Ed's in this game was Grant Gales, who caught 2 catches for 99 yards and 1 touchdown, comparing that to, at the time, sophomore Mike Joyce with 1 reception for 54 yards and 1 touchdown. Turnovers may be what caused the Gales to drop this game in week 1 of last year, with their quarterback throwing 2 interceptions on the day, while Tate Firch stayed clean. Both teams also recovered 1 fumble. Defense also played a huge part in this game, with Garrigan getting through the Gales' offensive line 4 times to St. Ed's 2. With the defense holding true for Garrigan, their rushing offense really took control here, rushing for 182 yards and 5 touchdowns. All of these factors did lead to a Garrigan win 48-22 to start the 24-25 season for the Bishop Garrigan Golden Bears. After this recap, we can maybe see what we can expect out of the Gales this Friday night. We get some stats from the Gales' start to the season this year. They started with a 2-1 record, with the one loss coming from Glidden Ralston, which was a tough loss for them, and a close one, 22-20. The two wins coming from a 64-28 victory over Noel Fonda and a 36-0 win at Remsen St. Mary's last week. Looking at some stats for the Gales, senior quarterback Ethan Swisher has completed 22 of his 31 passes for 406 passing yards and 7 passing touchdowns on the year, to his only 1 mistake and 1 interception so far. He's also got 93 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Leading the rushing for the Gales this year is Aaron Hint Jr. with 30 rushing attempts for 169 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's also been getting some receiving yards with 73 and 2 receiving touchdowns. Leading receiver for the Gales is Jacob Koopman, Sr., with 10 catches for 253 yards and 4 touchdowns. Their leading defensive player this season is junior Aaron Hint, who is also their leading running back, like I had said earlier, with 15 tackles, 1 TFL, 1 sack, and 1 interception. The entire team this year has 479 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. They're also averaging 5.4 yards per carry on the year. Receiving wise, they have 7 receiving touchdowns, like I said, because they have 7 passing touchdowns as well. Only 3 sacks on the season for the Gales, but 5 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 3 interceptions, with 1 being taken back for a pick 6. So, what's going to happen in this game? Well, I do think that this is Garrigan's toughest opponent so far this season. A lot of people thought Kingsley Pearson would be a tough opponent coming down from Class A, and Garrigan answered to them with their 60-20 win over them. St. Ed's all around is a very well-rounded team with a good functioning offense and a good functioning defense. From a stat line side, it looks like they can put big plays together and the defense can respond and get the ball back to the offense. This game is a huge rivalry game this week, and it is in Fort Dodge this year. I do think a lot of Garrigan people will travel still, because it is only around 45 minutes away from Garrigan, and it will be one of the best games of this week and maybe of Garrigan's season, not including trips to the Dome or playoff games. A huge factor in this game for Garrigan and for making predictions is, will the Gales defense be able to shut down or limit Garrigan's offense? Garrigan's offense is a powerhouse in the 8-man conference, and depending on if the Gales can pull their defense together to stop them, will be a huge factor in determining this game's outcome. My final score prediction for this game will be 42 Garrigan, 30 St. Ed's. I do believe that Garrigan's offense will be able to overcome the Gales' defense, and this will be a high-scoring game for both teams. More of an equal matchup than some opponents like we've seen last week with North Iowa and the week before that with Riceville. This will be a tougher game for Garrigan, and it will test them a little bit. Nonetheless, they will come out with the win this week on the road. With that being the end of the Garrigan St. Ed segment of this video, I want to give a couple shout outs to the cross country team and the top 20 race finishers at their last meet. Sophomore Julia Swift finished second overall on the leaderboard, with freshman Emma Kolash and freshman Rachel Kale coming in 10th and 12th. Moving over to the guys, Caden Buckner, freshman, was the only top 20 finisher for the Golden Bears with 8th place. Overall, great job to the cross country runners, and keep going. I'd also like to give a shout out to the volleyball team for a hard-fought game versus North Union on Tuesday night. They dropped this game 2-3 sets, but it was a hard-fought game from both sides. Garrigan went up 1-0 to start, and then dropped the second 2 sets, with the third one ending in a final score of 26-24 after the deuce. Garrigan rallied back in the fourth set, winning it with a score of 26-24 after the deuce. Unfortunately, Garrigan did drop the last set 15-9. They went down really early, I believe 1-7, to start the last set, which was a killer for them in this game. I unfortunately do not have North Union stats on Bound, so I cannot compare stats in this game, but I do have Garrigan stats, which I will touch on. Senior Alyssa Hoagland had 39 assists. Gracelyn Eastman Jr. led the team in kills with 3.2 kills and a 29.3% kill percentage. Madeline Tiggis led the team in blocks last night with 3, and Emmy Bartolo led the team in digs with 19. Freshman Rakaya Nielsen led the team in aces with 1. Overall, a tough loss for the volleyball team, but I do think that they will be able to bounce back from this and learn from this loss. That is all the shoutouts that I have for this week of BG Game Preview, and that will wrap up this episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below if there's any other things you'd like to see me cover, if you'd be interested in more summer sports. I am thinking about doing baseball and softball, if I should do more volleyball content, and things of that matter. Without further ado, I'm Lucy Eisenbarth, signing off on BG Game Preview.